Assalamualaikum. My name is Emily Bentley. I am a 25-year-old. I'm a student, an activist, a single mom, and most importantly, I am a Muslim. I am an American and a Muslim revert now of almost 4 years, alhamdulillah. My religious journey actually began a very long time ago. I actually grew up in China where my parents were Christian missionaries. My mom's side of the family is historically Jewish and my dad's side of the family is Christian for as far back as you can go. And when I was 16, I had something very traumatic happen that caused me to have to relook at my faith and relook at my religion, and ultimately what I found out is that I no longer had a home in that faith. So that was very hard for me because I built my entire life around that faith choice, and afterwards I had to look at my life and kind of try to decide where it was that I was going to put my passion and where it was that I was going to put my value. And so when I was 16, I became 100% an atheist. So I believe there was no God. I quit going to church. I quit doing all things religious, and I honestly quite very much so felt that religious people were silly and that there was no point to be religious. I thought like everything had to do with like science and helping people live their lives on a day-to-day basis, and talks of like an afterlife or anything like that were pointless. So when I was in college, when I was in high school, I did a lot of volunteer work. And then when I was in college, I also started to do a lot of work with BDS, the BDS movement, and also Rights for Palestine, because even though my mom's family was Jewish, I felt very, very deeply that what was going on in Palestine was a huge violation of very basic human rights. So during that time, I started to meet a lot of Muslims. And around that same time, I was working at a retail store, and I met a Moroccan woman named Naza, who became like a mother to me. And she would bring me food, she would invite me to mosque with her. And when I went to the mosque, it was very a different experience for me. Obviously, I'm not Muslim, I wasn't a hijabi or anything like that, but there was this sense of community and this sense of belonging that I enjoyed. But still, at the time, one of my favorite songs was one that says it's bad religion if it brings me to my knees. So I always think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a sense of humor, because obviously whenever Muslims pray, every single time we go down to our knees. So I had these things going on, and then all of a sudden I started listening to Quran. And even though it was in Arabic and I couldn't understand it, all of that trauma that I had experienced when I was 16 was still very much so present, but it was easier to sleep at night. And I had a much deeper sense of peace than I had ever felt in my entire life. I didn't know anything about mosques. I had never been to one in my life. Like I said, the only reason why I went was because I loved her. And so I didn't know that there was men and women's sections. So I showed up accidentally into the men's section and thought only men were Muslim. And they're like, you're not in the right place, you gotta go. And that was actually Ramadan, I think 2013, that happened where I went with her there. So this process began in my heart where I felt like these little seeds of Islam started being planted.